we're going to start off then with the last of our housing guest speakers for the spring term with Brian Duanda from Sheboygan County Economic Development. John, is there anything to lead off before that? Otherwise...
No, I would just point out that we had some members of the public that requested Washington County and Sheboygan County, so we arranged for that to happen. And maybe I would point out that this will be the last in our speaker series regarding housing. So, thank you.
Well, thanks for the opportunity to talk tonight. I'm happy to address questions as I go through, and if you want to wait until the end, that's fine as well. But my name is Brian Dowden. I'm the Executive Director of the Sheboygan County EDC. I joined the corporation in 2020, the fall of 2020. And everything you're seeing here is really from when we started our first strategic direction session in November of 2020 through today, okay? Many of the slides you see are actually the slides I presented to my board during those sessions. So trying to build the groundswell for why we needed to take action and bold action rather than being passive, okay? So if you go to the next slide. To give you a sense of where we're at today, and even this slide is old, as of today, we have 29 homes sold, 21 first-time home buyers, 10 relocations into the county, and 29 employers actually having residents in those houses, okay? So when I start talking about the Forward Fund and the housing initiative, just realize any employer can take advantage of those homes. Any resident can take advantage of, as long as they hit the eligibility criteria, and I'll go through that. But the key factor is we've had private sector investment come forward as a community good, and it's a very unique model in Sheboygan County that we've been able to put together, but there is no return on investment for those private sector employers specifically, okay? We're building inventory and making sure that we have the ability for them and for all employers to have adequate workforce for long-term growth in our county.
Real quick question for you.
Yeah.
You just gave the numbers. Were those numbers for this year? Is that what you're?
That's since the program created. Our first homes were sold in February of 2024.
Okay.
So right now, if you could go back one. Right now, homes under construction, we have 25 homes under construction today. We have 13 homes ready now for sale as of last month. So we are now going into buying season. So our goal will be probably 40 to 50 homes by the end of the year will be sold. Okay? And our challenge, and this is a slide from the strategic direction session of, during the Great Recession, like many communities, Whitewater, I'm sure is the same case. If you look at your building permits and the track record of building permits, historical over from 2008 to 2019, you lost a lot of single-family homes. Builders could not get financing for spec homes. It just shrunk almost immediately. In Sheboygan County, we lost around 200 homes a year. We lost a lot of small builders, and so we were getting apartments, but we weren't getting the single family homes. And during our strategic direction meetings, we had CEOs, I should probably tell you about my corporation, nonprofit, public-private partnership, but I have 40 board members, 40. So anybody that's pretty much involved, we have most of the major players involved, so we can build consensus quickly, okay? But we were able to get apartments to be built. However, we had employers saying, we can't recruit talent to apartments. We need kids, need yards, we need that ability. Next slide. Then we looked at the housing market, so we've created a task force and really started working the numbers of how do we get entry-level homes, and I call them entry-level homes rather than workforce or affordable, entry-level homes that will be affordable in a budget for somebody working on the production plant. Another tidbit about Sheboygan County, 33% of our employment is production staff. So we are looking at manufacturing floor. We need to be able to hit that price point to make it feasible for these companies to continue to grow and hit the needs of the community. So our challenge, if you look at our housing market, we had 9-10 days of inventory of anything under 250,000. So from a production standpoint, 250,000 is a pretty expensive house. Back when I was growing up, that was nice high end. In today's market, that's considered low end in the current housing market. However, we only had 10 days of inventory and 20 days at every price point. That, in a normal market, is 90 days of inventory. So our housing market is very tight. Moving there, I went to look at a house. They had 3 offers within me accepting the offer by Friday, 3 offers on the house that was going to tour. So, and it's the same thing across the state. So we have all those wonderful things on the left-hand side, jobs, cost of living, lifestyle, schools, but we don't have a supply of homes or a supply of apartments. Next. So again, we created this task force of 6 different CEOs and really started hammering out what do we need to be able to resolve this issue as a community. At the end of the process, one of the final questions was, Brian, what do we need to do a pilot? And the answer was, well, in order to do a pilot, we need to do a subdivision, and we need to start constructing homes and being the developer of record. Not relying on, again, we don't want to compete with the private sector, but the private sector can hit the margins and keep their margins and hit the price point that we need for our manufacturing staff. So the SCDC, through generous contributions or investments, these are not charitable contributions, these are investments into a fund to actually construct homes and subdivisions. There is no return on investment, no return on interest, anything of that nature. They are building inventory and making sure that we have a supply of homes for future workforce.
So what was the source of that $8 million?
$2 million from each of those companies.
Okay, thank you.
And then we did get, we have an allocation of $2 million of ARPA. And right now, as of today, we've only used $1.2 million, and that's on our 3rd subdivision to acquire the land. And then the last $800,000, we anticipate buying additional land in 2026 to close out the ARPA contract and only have 2 transactions, so it's much easier to monitor. You'll notice that the first thing it says affordable housing, childcare, and labor force. This would be an evergreen fund. Our goal is continue to churn. Today it's housing, that's the issue we have to deal with, but in the future it could be those other challenges that we will allocate resources. Next slide. So this is, again, a slide from 2021, and what we were talking about, our goal, 600 to 1,000 single-family homes. We should be around 200 homes by 2027. Price point, homes under 275, material costs are killing us. I think you can understand that with everything that's going on. So construction costs of homes is, from when we started the process to when we actually entered the market, was a $30,000 to $40,000 jump just in material costs. So that target of 275, we are in the 315 range, and we will be getting down, later on you'll see, we'll be getting down in the 275 to 300,000 range. But we're investing in entry-level home construction, and it's a price point that the private sector alone cannot hit, and or is not, with their limited resources, the return on investment is not there for them to accomplish that. So again, we're creating a unique value proposition for our county and for our employers. Next slide. So the fund actually will look at smaller homes. We've never gone 1,100. This is an old slide again from 2021 when I was going around to communities explaining what we were going to do. 1,200 square feet is the smallest home, and we've gone up to 1,600 square feet as far as the size of the house. Until the second phase of the subdivision, we're building 4 2-bedroom, 2-bath homes, but otherwise they're all 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes. And full basements, and the lot sizes. In phase 1, our first project is 60 feet, and then we are actually in a pocket neighborhood. If you're familiar with that, we'll show you what that is. But those are 35 feet and 42 feet wide. Target price point, and I want to stress that target price point now is the cost of construction of the actual structure is what you're seeing there, not the end price of home. That's the reality of today's markets when we go out to bid for housing development. The reason why, again, we take all the risk, we get the financing, we do working capital for the contractors. They have a contract with us guaranteed. They have to deliver on homes and they have to deliver on price point. So we hold them tightly to their budget, and then we manage that process. But we take all the financing risk, all the holding costs, all that is eaten by the SCDC in our project. Next slide. I want to stress that, again, there's private sector investors and housing developers. We're trying to hit a price point that is just not expected in the market today. So we are building small lots, 50 and 60 foot entry, and then the marketplace is typically 70 or larger as far as size, and that's how we differentiate and don't have our home builders up in arms about why we're doing what we're doing. To give you an example though, many of you are familiar with Kohler, Wisconsin, viewed as a pretty nice community to live in. When we were selling this to my board, as far as why we do it, Kohler lot sizes, 50 feet. So the width of your lots doesn't necessarily make the community better or worse. It's what you do around that community, around that lot, to make sure that it's a viable neighborhood that you're building. So 50 and 60 foot lots, and you can see the cost estimates that we were doing. Next slide. And again, this is back in 21 and where we thought we needed to be for price points. You'll notice that it says 120 of area median income. We ended up going, because the state had passed statutes of 140% for a housing fund that they were doing. I saw 140 and said, that makes it easier and it matches up with the state. So we are actually at 140 for our eligibility. But we do have a net worth requirement of under $500,000, and they have to have full-time employment in the county. So we did the legal work on fair housing, fair employment, and fair lending to make all this work. Next slide. So our first project in Sheboygan Falls, 3 different parcels. Parcel 1 is our first subdivision of 54 homes. Parcel 2 is where we have 41 homes being constructed, and that's a pocket neighborhood. And lot 3, and to the left is another part of lot 3. Those are actually being sold off to be apartment development, where there'll be 48 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartments going in at that location. The one thing I would just note to you is we definitely had a site selection criteria, looking at what community we went to. We went to every community, understanding here's our specs, what zoning codes do we fit in, all that. On 3 subdivisions, we've had 1 person show up to speak against the project. Well, 1 person show up to speak on the project, and that was a realtor asking to represent the project in that community. So if you do your due diligence, make sure your zoning code is aligning with development opportunities and the needs of the entry-level housing market. You will not have pushback, in my view, based on our experience in the last 3 years. Very definitely, we also wanted to make sure that we were not causing a school referendum immediately. So we wanted to make sure that we were working with communities that had capacity in schools, and we are being a good partner in that community. Next slide. So We did a master plan. You can see every floor plan that we have and where we placed it. We actually did color scheming of every single house, and there was a construction schedule of 24 months. For the community, that's guaranteed revenue, tax base. If this isn't a TIF district, but no TIF dollars are actually being used to build the infrastructure, it's a pay-go structure. But we will be using that to actually underwrite part of phase 2, which is the pocket neighborhood, to enhance amenities and try to bring the price points down further.
Do you have the 220 to 250 price point?
That's
Is there an
the
update
cost-
on that?
That's cost of structure.
Cost of structure, okay.
Yep. Again, and how we structure is our bank financing is we basically put $50,000 in on every single house, and we have a line of credit to handle the rest, and then we pay cash for the infrastructure. So if you have sites with infrastructure available, you're ahead of the game. So then you can say, okay, who's the home builder that is willing to hit our price point to actually deliver homes on a time frame and on a budget? Next slide. So this is, so since 2021, that's the area photo that you saw on the last side. Here's the subdivision today. We'll have all 54 homes built by the end of the year, and God willing, we'll have all 54 homes sold by the end of the year. The price point, 315 to 325. In the last month, we've actually added a realtor onto this. To give you a sense, the first homes in this subdivision appraised at 370 to 400,000. We're selling, they're getting almost immediate equity into their house. Next slide. If you also at the bottom, for people in the audience and council members, again, our homes are all listed on our talent recruitment website, someplacebetter.org/homes. This is our pocket neighborhood. We started construction in November of homes, and you can see the road structure is in there. We put all the infrastructure in September to November, and the blacktop will go in the next month. Price point here, 265 to 290. And again, we have, in this case, we have a home that is 3 bedroom, 3 bath with a full basement that we anticipate being under 290. Next slide. And then our final subdivision, and this is where we used ARPA funds to purchase the land, and we will be constructing 94 single-family homes. WIDA and the state budget allocated that, what was it, $544 million toward housing solutions in the last budget. We are the first subdivision in the entire state to actually be able to figure out how to access that money. So we have a $3.4 million 1% loan to put all the infrastructure in on this site. So ARPA money is buying the land. WIDA 1% loan is actually putting the infrastructure in. We are building the homes and going out to bid on the contractor right now. And the city of Plymouth, this isn't a TIF district. The city of Plymouth is actually using their affordable housing fund as equity into the housing development. And we are taking no proceeds. And every single home's tax increment goes back to replenish the affordable housing fund. So within 6 years, they will have more money in their affordable housing fund than when they have it today, with all the interest earned over that time frame. Next slide. As you can imagine, we get a lot of interest. So we've actually created a housing home buyer selection process. 9 tiers. If you're moving in from outside the county, 1 through 5 is outside the county moving in. Tier 6 is someone living in the county that's an apartment. Tier 7 is an existing homeowner. 8 and 9 are others. So We actually have, most of the homes have been sold to tier 5 and tier 6, based on the numbers you heard earlier. This is just making sure that we're hitting targets with our investments in these entry-level homes and truly making an impact on the mission of the corporation. Next slide. If you have questions, I'm happy to address them, but I would just say size and scale, Sheboygan County is very fortunate to have corporate headquarters with family-owned businesses. So very definitely learned that in the first 6 months that we had that platform. But my comment to you is this model can be done 5 homes a year, 10 homes a year at different sized communities. It's really put the structure together. Do you have vacant sites in the community that you can, as a community, take ownership of and facilitate that conversation?
So we'll do a similar formula to what we've been doing with the presentations, with questions from the public during open public comment period, but any council questions right now? Steve?
Hi. I have a couple questions relating to the livability and the viable neighborhoods and enhanced amenities that you mentioned. Like on pages, there's slides 11 and 12 where you're showing the layout. What sorts of enhanced amenities are you talking about? All I'm seeing are houses, but no sidewalks, no place for the kids to play in playgrounds. How do the kids get to the stores? I saw a couple stores, but there's no way for pedestrians to access those.
Okay.
What sorts of thoughts have you had about
I'm
that?
happy to deal with that. Very definitely, the city of Sheboygan Falls did not have a requirement for sidewalks. In Plymouth, we will have sidewalks on both sides of the street. In the Pocket neighborhood, we actually have a half-acre park in the center of the neighborhood. If you go back to the slides, but there's a half-acre, if you look at where the roads are, there's a half-acre park in the center primarily to provide park area. Also on the very left-hand side is a wetland area and also some vacant land that we are leaving as community park for that neighborhood. We are providing a park fund fee of $500 for every house being constructed, so that we are leaving that to the community and the city to say, how do you want to implement your park strategy in that neighborhood? But there is a walking trail, Plankview Trail is right along there, and we are providing access points for walking trails to that from the neighborhood subdivision. And the neighborhood subdivision is just north of the first one. So where you walk across the street, you go onto paths, then you go on another path to the walking trail.
Was that something that was sort of pre-existing, or was that built into the overall plan?
The pre-existing was the Plankview Trail that goes from Plymouth all the way to Sheboygan. We are building out the rest of that modeling. As far as the parkland in the center of the Pocket neighborhood, that is purely designed on open space, places for kids to kick the ball, things of that nature. In phase 1, the subdivision, with 60 feet, the lots are, I would say, backyards for them to play is a challenge. That's why we are donating part of the property that we purchased for City Park to implement what they would like to do with the park fees that are being generated. Okay?
Any other questions from the board? All right, thank you.